Hey, happy Friday, deities. What is going on? Welcome to another edition of Titan Talk. I got Isiah, myself, Killgoon, and we promised you Ben. We got Ben, the GOAT of the art team, our art director here on SMITE 2. We got a lot of eye candy to show off today.
Yep.
We talked about showing off Nemesis. We've got a little bit of a preview of Aphrodite and some other stuff that we didn't talk about earlier this week, but we're excited to show off and get you guys' feedback on it. So before we get into it, Killgoon, Ben, how y'all doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Nice.
I ate way too much lunch, so I'm a little bit weighed down right now. But
no falling asleep on Titan Talk. It's important, you know?
I did candy last night.
You went super hard on the candy.
I went to a store and I was getting all this candy for the kids, and I love Milk Duds, right? So
Oh.
I saw these Milk Duds were in there. I was like, they ain't getting those. On the drive home, I was just like going in, and I ate every single little. It was bad, dude. 600 calories.
Oh, man.
It's awesome.
That's great.
One drive.
Well, we hope everyone in chat had an amazing Halloween, too. But before we get into all the eye candy, we did have a patch go live this morning with a lot of balance. We talked about it a little bit at a high level on Wednesday when we had Lermy in, but I'm going to bring up our handy-dandy laptop.
I think, Ben, you might need to get a little closer to your mic.
Yeah.
Say something.
Hello.
There we go.
Is that better, chat?
Hello.
Got to get the soothing sounds of
Yes.
BenKnapp3D.
Yeah, I think it was picking up your echo and not your
Oh,
mic.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. All right, well, let's get into it, and we will...
Oh, no, it's on all of us.
Uh-oh,
Apparently
one
our
second.
audio is just bad.
It's all of you. No, it's echoing. Oh, somebody said Ben is better.
Thank you.
1 second here. I can troubleshoot our audio here really quick. All right, how about now, Ben?
Hello.
Is that better?
Yeah, better?
Better for Ben?
Chat? You're very
Chat.
quiet right now.
Ben sounds good. All right, I see.
Okay, Ben was never the issue.
Oh, Ben was never the issue.
Accurate.
Not Ben is the problem. What about the rest of us? Are we bad?
Not Isiah either.
Is it me? Am I the problem? Hello? It's me? I'm good. It's you, Isiah.
Okay, it's me.
Is that
Is it
mic
that
on?
mic?
Maybe. I'll move it out of the way.
Ah, shit.
There we go. Both have echo, some reverb. Probably the wrong mic. No, they sound fine. All right, I think we're gonna
just do it.
we're just gonna do it, and hopefully, definitely sounds like
Fixed?
feedback.
Better now.
Better now. Cool.
Okay.
It was probably this mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I will get into our laptop now.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Production is here, but hey, we're doing it live. Still a little bit scuffed, but we're good. That fixed it. It's good now. I think we're good, Lewis.
It's good now.
He's gonna unplug the mic.
Okay.
Cool. All right. That
Problem
should be
solved.
even better. Cool.
Now we know how to unplug.
I know,
it,
right? Now. All right, cool. So bug fixes for this morning's patch. Bacchus fixed an issue where the ability was not knocking back minions. Fenrir fixed an issue where Fenrir was not gaining full runes on killing an enemy god. We fixed an unintended case with Unchained as well, where this ability would stun when it wasn't meant to, and vice versa. Moving on to Balance. Conquest got some changes here. Ancient Fury increased the tower debuff duration. Fire Giant reduced the base health and the base protections on that. Got some feedback that games are going a little bit too long, so these changes are kind of targeted to, towards the mid-late game whenever you start taking those high-tier objectives, getting the game over with.
Yeah, felt like the game was dragging on a little bit too long at the end.
All right, moving on to gods. We talked about it a little bit on Wednesday, but all gods have had their per level HP increased by 15%. Amaterasu getting a nerf to Divine Presence and Heavenly Reflection and Dazzling Offensive. Chalk getting some buffs here. We're increasing his base attack speed and increasing the buff duration from Torrent. And Rain Dance is getting a decrease in cooldown. Fenrir getting some nerfs, we decrease the damage on Brutalize and increase the cooldown. And then Ragnarok the Ultimate, we fixed the Instabite issue. Everyone clap in chat.
This
we
was
did
huge,
it. Yeah.
right? So it's not, as soon as he transforms, he can bite you kind of like while he's transforming anymore.
Yeah.
Now he has to finish transforming. It's about a half-second difference, and it matches the way that Smite 1 was.
All right. Hades getting some buffs. Death from Below increasing the damage scaling and decreasing the cooldown. Shroud of Darkness decreasing the silence duration and decreasing the fear duration scaling. And then Devourer of Souls shifted the heal scaling from 10% protections to 7.5 int and 7.5 protection. So if you're building a little bit hybrid, getting some int and protections, you get some more scaling benefits there. Kukulkan, we talked about this on Wednesday, but Whirlwind, we adjusted the deploy time to match Smite 1. And then Kukulkan can now fire his dash version of Slipstream while the ability is deploying. So you can get those 3-2 combos off really quickly. And then moving on to items, Talked about it on Wednesday again, but just some shift to the penetration stats. So piercing, that affects Totem of Death, Demonic Grip, and the Executioner. Going to be decreasing the penetration per stack and increasing the stack count. And then Shattering, which is the new kind of penetration effect affecting Obsidian Shard and Titan's Bane. This is a new passive that will not be able to stack with itself. Your basic attacks and abilities gain 20% penetration against all targets.
Yeah, and kind of the same thing for piercing, right? So it used to be that you could get like Demonic Grip and Executioner and like double stack. Now that and those two and Totem of Death all are sharing the same passive, so you can't buy multiple items and get multiple instances of it.
All right, moving on to kind of our penetration shifts. Hasten Fatalis adjusted the recipe, decreased the cost, removed the pen, increased the attack speed. Totem of Death increased the cost, removed the penetration, increased the intelligence, and decreased the cooldown rate. Soul Reaver, we adjusted the recipe, removed the pen, increased the intelligence, increased the mana, and increased the mana regen. Serrated Edge adjusted the recipe, removed the penetration, increased the strength. Berserker Shield adjusted the recipe, decreased the cost, removed the physical protection, increased the health and the passive physical protections. Gladiator Shield adjusted the recipe, decreased the physical protections, and added health. Divine Ruin adjusted the recipe, removed the mana and mana regen, but added 5% penetration. Breastplate of Valor, just seeing a nerf, increasing the passive threshold on that. Also increasing the passive cooldown on Genji's Guard. And then Spear of Desolation and Jotun's Revenge, kind of seeing similar nerfs here, decreasing the passive cooldown reduction from 2 seconds on the non-ultimate and 6 seconds to the ultimate to 1 second and 5 seconds respectively. And then last but not least, Conduit Gem getting a buff, increasing the passive damage from 2 to 3 per stack. So big patch, that is out on social media. Patch notes are live on Steam if you all want to go and read the notes for yourself a little bit more in detail. We just did a kind of a quick recap because we got Ben here. We got a lot of stuff to show off.
And we also talked a lot about this on our last show with Lermy. So if you want to hear more about the details for why we made these changes, they're all in more depth on the last show with Lermy.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, shall we get into some of the eye candy that Ben brought to show off, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. All right, the first one that we're going to show off is kind of based off of a little bit of, well, not a little bit, well, we got a lot of community feedback on Hercules and the Lion specifically. So I'm going to pull up the screenshot here just on some updates that you all are doing on the art side for the Lion.
Yeah, so we heard a lot of feedback on the Hercules stuff, and some of it was like the fidelity of the hair on the lion. People weren't satisfied with it, so we tried some different approaches, and we kind of landed on this. So I think we still need to do some adjustment to like the kind of like pelt in the back to kind of make sure it blends. You can kind of see the two different styles there, but yeah, we're gonna have this kind of be like the head for the lion. Our lead character artist Justin Miller did this. He was experimenting a whole bunch of stuff to kind of get this working. So yeah, he did like a whole week worth of trial and error, and this is kind of where we're gonna land.
Cool. Chat is really digging it, seeing lots of okay, you're cooking, good stuff. So definitely really appreciate the feedback from the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely, it's some of the stuff that, you know, making a game like this, we're never done. So we're always open to getting community feedback on this type of stuff. And it's awesome that the art team is able to make such changes so quickly. So
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, the next one, shall we dive into Nemesis?
Let's do it.
Yeah, do you want to give a preface?
Yeah. Do you want
So I mean, like, you know, when we make these gods, we're always trying to figure out what people want to see with the updates and changes, and people like Nemesis overall, but then there was some commentary on like, she's got fishnets, dude. Like, why are gods rocking fishnets? And I'm like, that's a good point, I guess, right? So we tried to
put more fishnets on her.
We tried we had fishnets on the wrists and you know on the mask and stuff. No, we felt like there was probably better solutions that also kind of like could fulfill like the detail down there, but aren't so like maybe out of place for like a godlike arena. So like we did like straps here. We were like, let's do some straps. There's some straps in her arms, so it kept the detail and interest down there. But it's not as like detail. It's not like too much noise. It's not fishnets. We also like on the breastplate, we kind of added this kind of like, instead of it being cloth, we kind of did like more of a white metal kind of thing going on, so it didn't feel too out of place with the color palette, but it also felt like it made sense where there's more armor than kind of just cloth sitting there. And she got some abs now. She's been in the gym.
She's been hitting the gym.
Yeah.
Hitting the core, you know. All right, chat, what do you all think about these Nemesis updates? I'm seeing some oh yeahs.
No, the fishnets. Sorry, man. She's still attractive. I mean, she's still got it going on. She don't need the fishnets.
Yeah, I think it still definitely hits the vibe of Nemesis, right? Like, I don't think we changed what she is as a character. I think it just the outfit pulls it together more.
It's more Smite.
It's more Smite. It's what you would expect. You know, it feels less like
a skin.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well stated.
Cool. All right, we got another screenshot of Nemesis here. She's posed a little bit more in this one, just to kind of to show off the updates a little bit more. I love this Nemesis pose. It looks so good.
Yeah, like we that's the thing with these. Like sometimes we'll do these. I said the last time that the goal is to try to make changes where you don't realize that changes are made. You know, because we don't want people to feel like upset. I mean, I'm sorry we lost the fishnets. Yeah. Fishnet guy, I'm sorry, man. But she still looks like, you know, Nemesis, and I think she's still gonna like feel like her in game. And it's just like Alex said, it's like it's gonna tie her into the environment better and the rest of the gods.
Cool. All right. Well, that is Nemesis. I'll leave it up on screen just for a little bit more, just so anyone joining us a little bit late. But we got a lot more to show off here as well. We teased Khepri on Wednesday.
We did.
So
the hug bug.
Shall we take a look at Khepri in SMITE 2?
Yes. Let's do it. Cool. So it's Khepri got no real changes, right? As far as like, we thought he looked cool. Right?
Yeah.
He's beetle dude. He looks awesome. There's never been a problem with him. So what we try to do with this was just really push the materials and get like a really nice, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like beetles, like in real life. Like I've never seen a beetle. I mean, like outside, like the cool beetles, the exotic ones with like really cool colors and stuff like that. They have these really cool, like chitin, I think, is like the armor they have. There's like ones that have really cool color ranges that go in there. So we just wanted to kind of like, since he's like a beetle god, you know, like we wanted to make sure we try to be as high level with that kind of vibe as possible. So.
I definitely love the iridescence on like the shell, and even on the interior on the wings, seeing like the webbing and stuff. It looks so sick.
You know, I'm noticing people might, if they're paying attention to this, those wings, they'll be collapsed inside of his back right now. There's like two models being played, or it might be an animation thing. Those wings will fold up into the actual beetle back. I'm like, the back's closed, but the wings are going through. I'm like, oh, that was just the animation file wasn't played. But yeah, so those wings, I do want to maybe do a quick little adjustment to the wings. I'm not going to say what I'm going to do, but y'all won't know the difference. But there's something I'm seeing where I'm like, I think we can push it a little bit more, but. Yeah, he's cool.
Well, that's the hug bug coming in the next update.
Chat says that Khepri needs fishnets now.
Oh my gosh,
skin
idea. We'll see. I already I posted a clip of the show on Wednesday talking about Khepri coming into the game, and I'm already getting the comments about he's got to have his gun back too. So
did we do like a love bug Khepri?
We did.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like, all right,
it's one of my favorites.
See, yeah. Put some fishnets on that one, date night. There you go.
Cool. Well, speaking of love.
Yeah, I will say before we move on real quick, the chat's asking, is Khepri bigger? No, Khepri should be about the same size. Sometimes just the camera angle as we take these shots may make it feel a little bit different in size, but he should be about the same in SMITE 2.
Yeah, cool. Well, speaking of love, I think it's about time we talk about Aphrodite. Ben, before I pull up the screenshot, you want to give any prefaces on, kind of the thoughts we're taking Aphrodite before we get into it?
I'll say before we pull up the screenshot too, it's a little bit more work in progress than the other stuff we're going to be looking at, and it's not in the in-game lighting. So the exact colors and everything are not exactly what you're going to see in-game. It's more of an early look. So try and have that in your brain as you look at it and don't get the initial gut reaction. Yeah.
So when we see these characters, to the non-art people, there's in-game real-time characters, and there's high-poly characters that we use to we sculpt the detail, and then we bake that texture data onto a more lower poly model because you can't have like a million character model running around in game. So anyways, you're going to see a high poly model here come up soon. So when we were doing the redesign, initially I was like, we're just going to take the first one, what's in SMITE 1 right now, and bring it into SMITE 2 and call it a day. And AJ was like, bro, people want the old Aphrodite, man. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't hear this anywhere, right? But he kept telling me over and over again. So then I started investigating, and I realized that we had an OG Aphrodite that had a lot of presence to her. And then along the way, we just kind of lowered her down to just a little less of kind of the flowy stuff coming off from her. And it was such a long time ago, and we never offered like a skin for like the OG version. So people that saw the OG version were kind of like, well, can I get a skin? And I don't know whatever happened there. It just never became a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so as we like looked at it, I was like, yo, there's a lot of presence to this old one. Like it's not that much, but like just adding these extra floaty things, I don't know, it added a lot. And then she also had like some leggings and stuff like that, and like her costuming just had a little bit more presence to it. So AJ twisted my arm, man. And, I didn't even know the lore. Like he like took me down a path of like Smite history that like I've been on Smite since like the beginning, but like I didn't even know about this.
Right,
I was like, oh shit, like there really was like this whole presence of Aphrodite that's different now. So we're bringing back a chunk of that. We're not bringing back it in its entirety. There was like some extra braids that were in the front in the OG one that kind of they just felt more like Nordic. So I like was like, maybe we don't do that. And it also gave like this when you see the extra elements, it gave like an octopusy kind of vibe where it was like these come out to the front, the braids come out to the front, the like things come to the side. It just felt really kind of like maybe too much. So we took the braids and we're not bringing those back, but everything else is getting just an update. So
all right, well I'm going to bring up the picture, and Ben, you can walk us through what looks different with Smite 2 Aphrodite.
All right, there it is. So this is like a high ply model. So it's basically we have Quen Parker was working on this. She's an amazing character artist on the team. And she kind of went in. I just asked her to kind of like do a couple of updates, but the artist here, man. Like you tell them just do a little bit. We want to make sure we put our resources elsewhere too. And she's like, no, I'm going to work every night so I can just make this amazing, right? So she did a whole pass on the hair to make the hair. You guys might not know the difference, but like the hair looks much better here. There was the way that the kind of like collar and like there's like a thing coming off the side, like a side tassel-y shoulder. I don't know what that's called, right? Like
it looks
it's
cool,
like a shoulder tabard or something, right? Like those things they were added, and they're gonna be like kind of like floating off ambiently in the side.
Using that cloth sim?
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Like there's definitely. With cloth sim was always like we do want to add it, but sometimes you get to a point where if you have it in an area that deforms a lot, like an arm would,
that makes
sometimes
sense.
That simulation, I can't control simulation, man. That's just like physics and stuff in game. And if there's a lot of movement, sometimes that simulation it'll like get stuck on things. So like if we can get the right amount of animation and physics playing nice with each other, there will be physics. Cool. But like if it becomes chaotic and like it's all wrapped around her face and like everything like that, then maybe we'll tone it down to just the animations. But we'll see. But yeah, so she's got like these like little like shoulder things that are going on. It's updated. Quen added these really cool kind of like little like gold streamer things off the shoulders too that ties into where the legs are at. Her wrist thing, we're playing with how much mass we put there. Seeing this right now, I feel like there might be too much of this there's kind of like a crisscrossy kind of strip going on. I told Quen to add that, but now I'm seeing it and I'm like, maybe it's too much, So we might tone it down so it's a little more elegant and less mass up there. But then like as you go into the legs, before she just had like some shoes and like just the skirt, and like now it's like it goes all the way down these really cool kind of legging things going on. So it's like just adding a lot more of what the OG look was. And there's also going to be some really cool in the textures. There's also going to be some cool like patterning details that come into like the tabards and stuff like that. So it won't be like pure like and also like the pink we're here, like it's gonna like gradient from like pink to purple, maybe some blues. We're still not sure because she was pink purple initially, and then she went blue, and I feel like pink's more of like a love color. So I'm like I'd rather go more of that warm tone than like the blue that we have, but I also don't want it to be too jarring for the fans to be like, I know she's blue, why is she now not blue, right? So we're gonna play with the palette and see what feels best, but yeah, it's going to be better than this. But this is, to me, I think this is a huge upgrade for Afro.
This looks great. And I saw chat just going crazy when we initially pulled up the screenshot. So it looks like we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah, you guys got to give a lot of love to AJ for like the pushing on like, give me the old Afro. Because I remember I was like, someone, I think it was Pon, was like, are we going to do any updates? I'm like, no. I'm not doing updates to Afro. It's done, right? And then AJ just pulled me to the side like, bro, you don't even know. Like, you gotta do this for him. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, it's definitely exciting to see chat so excited. So I'm super excited to see, how Aphrodite turns out. We talked about it a little bit, but definitely won't be having to wait until Valentine's Day for Aphrodite. Yes. She's going to be coming up in the first 50.
Yeah,
so
that's the goal.
Oh, and her birds are looking way better too. Like, I can go into art.
No, gush,
art
man,
speak,
we love it.
But like the way we did the birds before, they were just like these cards, and it was just like real like on off on. Like the wings are up down, and they move really fast, so you don't really notice it as much. But like they're getting like a whole like upgraded bird treatment. So
nice.
It's gonna be good. The effects team's kicking ass.
All right. Well, we got one more to talk about. I know this is a super popular god in SMITE 1, definitely amongst some of our top content creators as well.
Yeah, and I would say this is the furthest out god of the gods that we're showing today, most likely in terms of actual release date.
Yep. So cool. All right. Well, I'm not even going to tease anything. I'm just going to pull up the screenshot and let chat see.
Yes. Ullr. You got it right. Okay. So Ullr. So a lot of we got. Like, I always talk about resources. You guys probably don't care. You're like, just dope characters. But like, for me, I'm like, you gotta manage your resources, right? Like, so when I saw this guy, I don't know how popular Ullr is. I try to give like love to everybody, but like I also try to like I do kind of skew towards the more popular characters they get more love than the ones that aren't as popular. But I try to be fair. When I saw this guy, I was like, man, he could just be like so much cooler with just a little bit.
Yeah.
Not too much extra work. Because before he had like a really kind of. We had like an era of SMITE. I'm sure you guys can tell with some of the characters that like it was more cartoony, I guess is the word. I'll use that. Whimsical was the word I used last
whimsical.
time. It's a very, very nice way of saying it. So like, as we got more serious, like Ullr was one where his face was still had the older kind of whimsical, like Team Fortress 2 kind of vibe to it. Very colorful, really good proportions, but like they were exaggerated. So we dialed that back in. But along with that, as we were doing that, I'm like, man, like his outfit was just like fur,
right?
And I'm like, I get it, but like, could we just like do more with the design than just a big old like fur thing, right? So we started looking at kind of like his armor and saying like, okay, there's a lot of this kind of like studded like leather going on. So it was like, could we just maybe add some of that up top? And then as we started adding that, and we started to realize there was like his cape was just like a block of color in the back, and we're like, dude, we gotta like put some patterns on there and stuff like that. So and his axes too got a little bit of
Oh yeah, let me hide our cams, that way chat can see all the weapons and stuff.
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to make these look like different. I just want them to look better, right? So like, I think someone that plays Ullr is going to be like, oh man, this dude looks cool, but I don't think you're going to be able to like pinpoint exactly what makes him look different unless you like have them side by side. So he looks just like Ullr to me, and he just looks just better, So yeah, this is Greg Britt did the update for this, one of our maulers. He was nice enough to let me kind of just I micromanage people, man. I can get bad about that. I try to be like, dude, not like that. 10 degrees to the left. Make this darker. Like hovering art director. Greg let me do that thank you, Greg. I appreciate you, homie. But yeah, this is the update.
Nice, cool.
Yep.
Ullr's looking good.
He's looking good. Like I said, he is the furthest out of the gods that we've shown off today. I don't believe he is playable yet in our dev client, whereas I think all of the other ones that we've seen today are at least far enough along that we have some version of them playable. So still a ways out, but wanted to show you guys the model so you could get a first feedback on it.
Cool. And while our cams are hidden, I'm just going to go back and go through all the screenshots. That way chat can get the full-on screen grabs that I'm sure are going to get posted to Reddit and Discord and all that stuff. So this is Ullr, again, our queen Aphrodite. We'll leave that up for a little bit here. And then we talked about Khepri in SMITE 2. And then we had a couple of Nemesis screenshots here.
She also got like her like sword and like the wings got this really
cool, I did see chat calling out the weapon.
Yeah.
We had another Nemesis screenshot. And then we kicked things off with talking about the line updates for Hercules. So lots of awesome stuff coming up in the art pipeline, Ben.
Yes. I hope you all enjoy.
Yes, for sure. All right. Well, we're about halfway through. I think it's time for some community Q&A. What's going on, chat? How's everybody feeling? We got Ben, so any art questions, definitely be sure to field them in chat. And going to be hanging out and talking to you guys for the next half hour or so.
Yeah, and one thing I will touch on, because I've seen a couple people ask it already as we're getting some questions in. We just had an update this week with 2 Gods. So the next update is going to be not next week, but the week after next with 3 Gods as the target. We've announced that Khepri and Nemesis are targeted to be in that patch. There's one other god who we haven't confirmed yet, but we will probably be doing that pretty soon.
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of ask about when are we going to do more of the roadmap show. I think we're looking at kind of maybe end of next week, maybe early the week after that to walk through who the first 50 gods are going to be. We just have a couple other shows that we want to get through first, where we're going to have Max on to talk about matchmaking on Monday. And I think we have somebody else scheduled to come on Wednesday, but I don't remember who it is.
Somebody from the design crew for next Wednesday.
Oh, because we were going to look at the gods for the next update. Yep. So maybe Friday of next week, maybe early the week after that for the roadmap. So
cool. All right. Let's see here. Any plans to add a shorter tether to minions and the jungle, as it feels like they follow very far? I think
to minions in the jungle when you
jungle.
Run into the jungle.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's something we can take a look at. We haven't really gotten reports of that they travel further than they do in SMITE 1, but we can take a look at it. Oh, this is a question that maybe you could give us an update on, Ben. Has Poseidon's beard been chosen? I know last time you showed us several beards.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna go with the traditional vintage.
The long
Poseidon.
long beard.
We may give you the more handsome beard at some point. Maybe if we do like a skin that's kind of like a more younger version or an update to him. But yeah, we're gonna go with the tried and true one.
Yeah. The trident true one.
Hey.
I'm the only one that's not a dad here.
I was gonna say that. I didn't want to do you like that, you know. He will do well.
Yes. Let's see here. Any chance for Fenrir's fur getting an update like Herc's lion pelt?
Man, y'all are funny. When Justin opened Pandora's box with this move, I was like, you know what's that now
happen.
Every time we do a character with fur, they're gonna like, let's do fur. So like the way we do fur, like this kind of fur is like hair cards, and we did a whole exploration phase on the beginning of SMITE 2. We were like, should we do this? And there was like lots of ramifications with going this route, so we decided not to, and we stuck with more of the geometry-based stuff. But it just makes sense for some of these. Like this one, it makes sense. So I would say like we're not gonna do this for every single thing, but maybe we will try out ones where it makes the most sense. Like so, Fenrir is made of his whole body's fur, so it's like you're basically asking us to redo the god, one more time. And so maybe we will if we have the bandwidth to do it. But I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna commit to it. But I'm sure like if you guys scream enough and like AJ comes and like, bro, we gotta get it in. Like if there's enough clamoring, maybe. And it could be a thing too where like. Because so like when you make a model, like it's not just we just update the model, right? A rigging department has to work on it, and they have to weight each character is made of polygons. The polygons are vertices in each point, and each of those vertices is weighted, like influenced by a certain bone. So like if I was to do that, like the rigging team then has to they don't want to hear it. Yeah. I don't care. Like I don't care, dude. Just do it. I want the fur. Maybe we'll see if it makes sense
for sure. All right, I saw a question pass by. Any plans to do parts and pieces skins? Hats, weapons. Sorry, I triggered Alex with PTSD a little bit.
So I've been on SMITE for a very long time. Most of my career at Hi-Rez has been on SMITE, but I was on Paladins for a while, and Paladins used to have...
I was there when it started. Yeah.
Paladins used to have a parts and pieces system where there were... 3 or 4 different parts to a skin. There was the weapon, there was an accessory, there was, I think, the head and the body.
Yep.
And what we found is that if you make these really good, well-themed full packages of a skin, the way that we are good at doing, then you can't do that as well if you're trying to build them in a way that they split up. And people don't really want to just like have to acquire all the individual pieces of a skin. They would rather just have one cool skin. There's a different strategy towards building skins where you can build just a bunch of random interchangeable parts, but then you don't get the full, like, this is the full kind of remodel cool skin that the way that we've done and we have found works better. So we actually like moved paladins away from parts and pieces because we thought it was holding back the skins, and the skins got a lot better after we moved away from it because it allowed us to do a lot more and have parts that, you know, like if we made interchangeable heads and bodies, then there was like an invisible line right here that you couldn't model past. And it made all of these really weird, awkward feeling skins that didn't feel like they were connected even when you had all the parts of them. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things that can feel good if you are modeling in a way to do that. But I think that our players prefer the better, more comprehensive skins.
Cool.
There's even things like the UVs.
Yeah.
Where the textures are, like if you have like that, you have to have like an area in the UV map where like that texture is like, this is going to be for the head. And like, what if you got a head with tons of extra stuff? It still has to fit in that texture page. And then now that resolution is really bad.
Ben, how much easier is it to make models like this in UE5? The models always look beautiful.
Oh. Yeah, well, that's because we have a great team. So
we really do.
It is. So like the Unreal 5 is just like a tool that lets us present at the very end in a better way because there's just more features and like you can have higher polygon counts. The materials are better because they're PBR versus the spec gloss method of Unreal 3. But you know, making the model is pretty much the same up until putting it into Unreal. There's a little bit of things where you can have different texture pages now. Before we would do like. Again, I'm getting like boring.
No, people love this.
Okay. So like there'd be like there's like when you do a model, like okay, so like think of a can, like a can of soup or something, right? So like that's a cylinder, and then there's a wrapper that like wraps around the cylinder, and if you like cut the wrapper off, it's a flat piece of paper. Like that's a texture page, right? So like it wraps around the cylinder. So each character is like on a 2D page. All the detail is laid out like that. So like imagine like some. You know, like in my face as you take it from the side and just rip it straight. Like, you know,
that's a great visual image.
Yeah. I'm thinking like Leatherface, you know, Halloween, right?
Right.
But like that's like how textures are and stuff. So like you get more texture pages to work with. Before it was like you try to put all of them on one. There was like bone count limitations in Smite 1 where you had 75 bones per draw call, which is like a texture page potentially, you know. So like if you had wings on a character, like you're in 2 draw call land. And so that means like, okay, so like the wings could be on another texture page just default. Now you get more of those opportunities. And as a result of that, like the less texture you have packed into one page, the more resolution it gets because they can be bigger. So like the fidelity's better. So we get better textures. We get better lighting interaction with the PBR physical based rendering material type. And we get higher polygon counts. So those are the big wins, right? And then obviously there's great performance wins as well because we can have master materials that give you so much more. Before Smite 1, all the materials were like done by like each one was done uniquely. But like this, now we have a master material that like gives you like infinite like flexibility because our artists are always like updating the material. So it's easier in that capacity, but like that Aphrodite you saw, like that's just ZBrush, man. That's like artists just being badass artists. In the past, you'd still have that awesome work, but like Unreal 3 was just like, I can't let you see how good it is. It's like if you went to watch like a movie from like if you ever watched like I love Terminator 2.
Okay,
there you go.
Dope. So like if you ever watched Terminator 2, it was like from like the mid 90s, like 92 or something like that, right? Like. If you don't watch like a director's cut version or an HD version, you just watch a version that was like
the old VHS,
the old VHS like level
on a shitty like 10-inch CRT.
Yeah. So it worked great because like it hid all the bad resolution because you didn't know.
Yeah.
You couldn't see clear, right? You didn't have 480 pixel, 480p to kind of work with. You just had like. I don't even know if it was 4.
I don't know.
4080 now. It's 4K now, right? But like back then, I think it might have been 480, right? So you got like 10x now. So if you watch like that old movie like on a DVD you bought off eBay or something like that because they're all upgraded now, right? But if you watch an older movie like that on a DVD player on a great TV, it's like gonna look real bad, right? Because it's like this TV is now exposing the fact that the resolution limitations were there. It's kind of like that in the inverse. Like the limitations were always there in Unreal 3, but like the quality was there. You just couldn't see it because it was always like, oh, we got 480p, dude. You can't like. rock all this great detail. Now when it's 4080 or 4K, right? It's like, oh my God, you can see everything. Yeah. So like, I talk a lot. I get really long-winded, man. I get excited about this shit. So, sorry, I don't know if I'm supposed to curse.
Hey, we're PG-13 around here.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I would say like it's easier because we get this. It's only easier in the sense that like the final product gets to like you don't have to work around limitations that were like blocking the quality bar, right? Because sometimes we have to be like, this doesn't look good enough. How do we work around the fact that all the textures are on one texture page? Now we're like, just put them on 2 texture pages. It's crazy because like I come from like really old school development where like I did the first Apollo. It's greatest shame. He's so much better now, right? But like the original one, like the all modelers are like they worked on these. I worked in the very first Zeus, which is terrible, terrible. So there was always this thing where you're like, I don't want to tell people I did that, but like the quality bar back then was like just at a certain level. It gets better and better with every kind of character we make. But there's also just things where like, I don't know. We have more tools now. Yeah. We have more availability to
more
do
tools,
things.
more technology.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it gets easier with time and skill and all that stuff. But yeah,
cool. Let's see here. Ben made Bear Apollo. That's funny.
I have seen this question a few times. Did we do anything to Thor's hair since we last showed him?
Oh yeah. I should have shown you that. Okay, so like people were saying like there was like a. It was like a basketball player that someone showed me a picture of where like the dude had like really like crazy kind of hair, and then his next picture is like an emo haircut. I don't know what his name was. But I was like, oh shit, like I didn't realize that he really had that. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline look, very straight. So the model's still the same like kind of like vibe, but like I work with the artist, and I took the model myself, and was like on the weekend I was like, I'm just painting straggly hair. So like he still has the same look of the hair, but it's a little
too
more
perfect, or a little less perfect.
It's a little less perfect. It's definitely got like variation. It's a little bit like less shiny. It's got like lots of squigglies that we kind of put in there. So like he's gonna look more Viking and less like he went to a salon.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm in this stuff all day, and so for me, I'm like, oh my God, his hair's amazing. He just came from the salon. It's great. And you're like, dude, he doesn't look like that. Like,
yeah. Somebody said in chat, sounds like Jimmy Butler.
That's him. That's him. Yeah, Jimmy Butler. Yeah. That was surprising. See that picture? I was like, whoa, holy shit. And then people are comparing us to, I'm like, oh, damn, we got to change this.
Did you see Wemby's Halloween costume from yesterday as No Face? That's pretty good.
Let's see here. Cupid remodel, question mark. I'd like to know if you are keeping the Toonish one.
The Toonish one? You mean the big head one?
The big head one, yeah.
No.
That thing needs to die with fire, man. Like,
didn't you tell me a story once that base model was made in like a day and a half or something?
Oh yeah, dude. That's what I was saying, like with the Zeus, right? Like I'm ashamed of the models I made in the past, but I'm also like, we made those like in 2 weeks. It was like we had no console support. Like the artist that made this Cupid model, he never wants to be named online. He's like,
That's fine.
So like he's amazing. He's one of our best artists. He's killer. But like he just made that like in like a day or so, right? Just
it was like, we want to add Cupid real quick. Okay, here you go.
yeah.
Because this was, he was like the 14th or 15th god in SMITE. He was one of the really, really early ones before they were the same standards, like you said.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we showed off kind of our intended Cupid remodel when we did the SMITE 1 cross-gen skin.
We can get on the next one too.
Yeah, we can pull it up.
I'll get some shots of you for the next one. The main thing, I don't like him. Right. I hate him, but like I understand why people like him. Yeah. Right. I get it. So like for those that do like him, the reason why he's not like in SMITE is because with SMITE 2 we're trying to like get consistency. Like with all these gods, we're trying to get them at the same par level. We don't want characters to feel like you have those really old ones with the new ones, and then you're like, oh man, the quality bar is not as good, and it just feels bad. So like with Cupid, he's unique because his proportions were so unique compared to everyone else, right? When you have like the old Apollo, he was like kind of cartoony and stuff, but he still fit the bill as far as proportional relationships of the size of a character. Whereas Cupid just he's like a giant head, man. He's like a Funko Pop just flying around. You know what I mean? So like We want to just give them a little bit more. I mean, it's a little bit more serious. I like to be a little more serious too, so I want to get a little bit more seriousness in. But it's also just to kind of like put them in the same like level playing field as the rest of the gods and not feel like out of place. I can imagine there'll probably be a skin at some point where we do that, you know. But yeah, de facto one is just going to be the more normalized version.
I've seen a couple questions about God Mastery.
Yeah.
If I can jump on, I'm going to kind of combine a bunch of them together here. But people have been asking, like, are there any plans for God Mastery to go past rank 10? Are there any plans to add extra rewards? I think the first thing to touch on is, like, we really like the system where you get to rank 10 and then you earn stars. Yeah. We think that's better than a system where the number just goes up infinitely for a lot of reasons. And one of the big reasons is that just from a player psychology standpoint, when you load into a loading screen and you see that somebody else is level 900 on a god and you're level 2, you're like, what the hell is this matchmaking? Screw this game. You know, I'm never playing this game again, yada, yada, right? We don't know what gods you're going to pick until you get into into the lobby. And also, like, your skill overall isn't necessarily your skill on every single god, right? Yeah. So by doing a system where you only go up to rank 10 and then you get diamonds, or you get stars, excuse me, it kind of makes it so on your first glance you don't feel like the matches are, you know, as different as they maybe are in terms of the amount of time that you've put into playing at God. So we like the system because if you're the kind of player who's been playing for a long time and you know how long it takes to get a star, you're like, oh yeah, this person has played a lot of Aphrodite, and the person who they're clearly doing it with has played a lot of Susano. But like for more average players, it just doesn't feel as like overwhelming, like the odds are stacked against me. The second part of like, should we add more skins for people that get to certain reward levels? We've been having that discussion internally about whether we should or we shouldn't. I think there's people on both sides of the fence. I think the concern for us right now is that we are hearing from a lot of people that they're already frustrated that it takes so long to get to rank 10 to feel like they've gotten the value out of their Ascension Pass, that if we added another reward that's at a star or 2 stars or something, like the percentage of players that will ever get to that is so slim that it runs the risk of actually making people more upset than it makes them happy. And the example that I'll give of that is, I don't know how many of you guys remember when we added the prestige to the battle pass. So we didn't, like, the price of the battle pass did not go up when we did this. We just added some extra rewards that were tied to extra levels. And it got universally hated by the community because we made it too hard for people to be able to get the full value out of the thing that they had spent their money on. So there's a real risk that if we add more skins to the Ascension tracks at like 1 star or 2 stars or whatever, right? Like that people, it actually just makes people feel worse about the system because they're like, I'm never going to get that. Yeah. Now they're making me grind to get this thing versus like, oh, they added an extra thing that I could get. It's just, people react to things differently. I know it maybe seems lame, but like these are the real reactions that we get repeatedly when we do this kind of thing. So there definitely is a group internally that wants to add those extra skins. There's a group internally that's a little more worried about it, but that's kind of the argument that we're having right now.
Let's see here. Thoughts on giving each pantheon their own unique backgrounds?
So we are working on a new lobby presentation, which I think will support different.
It's like a universal one.
Yes,
kind of like in SMITE 1, there's like more of a universal one. You'd have like the Pantheon logo to the side, but it was more of a universal SMITE battleground kind of vibe.
So I think we're working on that right now, and then from there we'll see how the system could improve over time. I think is the best way to say it.
We've definitely discussed it for sure.
Yes.
Let's see here. Have you guys considered doing dynamic lighting with the new engine where the sun sets, rises in real time?
Very early in development, we talked about doing like a day-night cycle. But one of the things that we were talking about was like, in a game where so many gods are tied to like the sun or the night, like how does that affect the core gameplay? And if you're really trying to lean into it. So it's definitely something we've talked about. The other thing that we've seen kind of routinely is that like Smite players get really mad if the maps aren't set at like noon, full afternoon daylight, right? Like we got so much hate for that one Conquest map we did a couple of years ago that was like kind of mid-afternoon even. Like it wasn't even that dark, but people
Too late to fight, guys.
People were like, it's oppressive, like this, it's too dark, we don't like it, right? So I think we're aware of the feelings around that and also the gameplay implications. We were just like not 100% sure how to move forward with it. So I think we definitely have had conversations about how we could make the Conquest map feel more dynamic and shift more through the course of a game. And that's something we continue to have conversations about. Are we just going to throw in a day-night cycle without having it have a big impact on the game? Probably not.
Let's see here.
The one person who liked the night map is in chat right now. Oh, 2 people. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, 2 people.
The environment art team loves the night maps.
Right,
They keep trying to slide them in, and every time it's like, dude, it's going to be too hard to play.
Yeah. The overwhelming response from the community whenever we do a dark map is this is not good.
They look great. They just don't work right.
Pull up another.
I don't know if we've started on Mulan yet. Are we making any changes to the Mystical Warrior skin that's going to be the base, or is that pretty much going to come over the way it is?
I think any god that was made circa like 2018 and beyond is probably going to come over without much change unless there's like a really good reason.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, because we want to spend like this is where we get time for Ullrs and Hercules. And like we only have so much currency time currency to spend, right? And so we don't want to spend it on ones that don't necessarily need it as much until we've at least gone through the older ones that need it more.
Makes sense. Let's see here. Hunter executes win. We're not doing it.
I mean, as we get to each god, we will consider them independently, and if it makes sense to give them an execute, right? Like, I see the argument. If you're going to give one to a god, Charybdis probably makes the most sense on that ultimate, right? Mm-hmm. But there are pros and cons to having too many executes in the game.
Yes.
We thought it made sense for Sobek. We don't have any more execute +1s planned right now.
I did see a comment like a couple times at the top about something like an Aphrodite having like a diaper thing. It's not, guys. It's like her leg. It's like cut on the side. It's just a piece of cloth. Once we get to the texturing phase, it won't. It's not that. Don't worry.
Let's clean it up.
It's gonna look good. Yes. Okay.
How much do I have to pay to get Chang'e expedited? We were talking about it on the wait screen. Ben, do you want to?
We're one of the bigger arcs, right?
It's one of the bigger arcs for sure of work.
I'll do a quick little just explain it. We do want to change her, right? And we want to change her because she's hard. There's characters that we want to change for you guys, and there's things we want to change for us, right? Like she is a nightmare to work with for the animators because I mentioned earlier about like 75 bones and bone counts and boring art words, text stuff. So like she had limitations because of just performance implications. When you add an extra draw call, every 75 bones, you get the like 150. If you go into like past the 150 range, it's like, dude, that's 3 draw calls. No, you just ain't doing it, right? Because so anyways, that's why you'll see some characters don't have full fidelities in their fingers because we're trying to prune bones where we can, and we're trying to like, okay, you don't have a bone for the fucking pinky. You have now a bone for like the skirt or something like that, right? So Chang'e was one where like she didn't have a lot of the fidelity we wanted to give to her because of gameplay, Unreal 3 limitations. So we want to like add a lot more fidelity to her dress and stuff. There's already a concept that we've already cooked up to kind of like update kind of her headdress and her makeup a little bit. So I definitely want to. She's gonna look dope when we get her done.
Yeah.
So just be patient.
Yeah, and I think that's
patient with us, please.
Probably also one of the reasons why most of the Chang'e skins in recent years have been on the newer without a dress rig.
Yes.
Because the dress rig is so hard for us to work with. So
I did this Disney princess kind of vibe like skin a while back, like a very kind of like blue, like princessy kind of thing. And I remember working with like the rigging guy, and he was like, I don't ever want to work on Chang'e ever again. And he was like, you cannot move the polygons anywhere, dude. They have to follow to T, because if you don't, then there's penetration problems, and if you don't do it, if you go too far one way, it breaks it. If you go too far the way, it breaks it. You have to stay right on task, and so it kind of sucks. So we'll make sure there's better fidelity.
It's a delicate balancing act for
Definitely.
sure, but. Just let us cook.
Yes,
let us
yes.
cook.
That she's one where Unreal 5 is gonna make it like way. We can. I mean, like just simulation. You know, I mean, like you can't. That's not how it really works. But you know, it'll like be better, right?
I guess at least part of the way there.
Yeah. I'll use some fancy Unreal 5 buzzwords.
Let's see here. How do we plan to tackle skins FX, giving competitive advantage in the future? I think that's one of the things that it's just like
it's a case by case basis, right? It's like
a constant feedback loop with like the esports department and stuff like that for sure.
We're not gonna win them all. I'll tell you that much, man. Like we try to do the same thing on the model side. Like, dude, if you make the person have wings, the visibility is harder now. But I'm like, but it looks so cool,
right?
And it's like, you know, I still want to play as that, right? It's trial and error, and just every time we hear that something's not good, we just try our best to dial it in, you know. But we still want, if it's a skin, we still want to respect like the power fantasy of the skin. You know, we still want the skin to feel like you get a lot of value when you play that skin and you enjoy it. So we don't want to water it down too much, but at the same time, it's a dance.
And I know the effects team has just been putting in so much work, even on the base models, when it comes to just effects and gameplay clarity. So I know they're just doing a whole lot of work on that front as well, just to make sure that
Chuck. I don't know if people remember Chuck from back in the day. Chuck was one of the OG art directors on SMITE.
More skulls.
Demons. he's in charge of direction on the effects side of things, and so he's really ingrained with we got him back on the team recently, and he's just been amazing for trying to make sure we rein in how far we take things. And because when you get to Unreal 5, you know, you want to let it loose, you want to do all the cool things, and it's like that sometimes makes, what if you have all the cool things happening at the same time? And then it's like I clarity, you know, the first problems we had the past alphas we did were gameplay clarity, and so Chuck came in and has been helping with that. So we definitely are really mindful of that now, more so than we have been in the past.
We've been talking about trying to get Chuck on the show, so maybe we'll try and fast track that.
Chuck is not local though, so it would be maybe next time he's in office, or we could have him call in or something. But I think a lot of the improvements you've seen, the whole FX team has been awesome, but Chuck has just been helping guide the team to come up with those things.
Let's see here.
The seasonal conquest map thing, I think, comes up a lot. And I don't think we've addressed it before. The chat asks about it a lot.
Right.
I think it's something that would be cool to do in the future, and is theoretically somewhat easier in UE5 than it is in UE3. But right now, so much of our environment art time is going towards, we need to build Joust. We need to build, just a better core conquest map. Making some changes that we know need to happen, and putting in the time to make a bunch of pumpkin props and fall trees or whatever. Just didn't seem like the best use of our time for right now. But definitely in future years, I think I don't want to say it's easy, because nothing is easy. It takes work, it takes time, but it's much easier to do that kind of thing with UE5 than it would have been in UE3, than it was in UE3.
Yeah, the MR team really, really wants to do stuff like that. So it's just a matter of timing and what best use of the resources.
Cool. All right, gents. Well, we are at 2 p.m., so it's time for one more question. We'll all choose one more question before we call it a day and get on to Casual Friday here, starting here in a little bit.
I did say I will answer one real quick. I don't know.
They move so fast. I don't know how you guys pick them. You know.
There was a question about changes to casual matchmaking coming soon. We're going to have Max on the show on Monday to talk primarily about casual matchmaking. There's some other stuff that he wants to talk about as well, but that is something that we are focused on trying to make better. So we will have more of an update on casual matchmaking on Monday. Yep.
I will answer an art question. There is a question for Ben. Do you work with the ability effect pet models? I'm going to hurry because it's about to go off screen.
Yeah, you can scroll.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Technology. Affects pet models as well, or just the character models themselves? Basically, how much reach do you specifically do within your job? Okay, so I mentioned we brought Chuck on, and that has been a blessing because he's amazing at that kind of stuff. I was doing I was handling everything, but then I was delegating to people as how to actually act on things. But I was trying to oversee stuff, and man, that's why effects were bad. That's because I was put everything in there, it's gonna be awesome, and then they're like, oh my god, it's too much awesome, and I can't tell what's going on. So basically, we realized that it's just too much for one person to kind of handle everything. So I mostly focus now these days on the character side of things, like concepts, like helping with card art and stuff like that. Like that, I stick on like the character centric side of the world, and then anything that's more like I do help a little bit of the environments, but like it's more like Chuck is kind of digging in more on like the effects and now recently the environment side. So art like all these disciplines are like effects is like animation and color design, color theory, concept design. Like it's a lot that effects has to handle. I do help with animation too, but like the animation guys are so good at animation that it's like I'm just like, does this feel like it's the right vibe for the character? Yes or no? And then I just let them run wild because they're just amazing. So.
Let's see here. I see a question. Why and how did we decide on the design for opal skins, and why did we move away from diamond skins?
You may want to answer that a little more too, Alex. I think because I remember it was like we had a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
I know that part of it was like, you know, we're trying to make a Smite 2 is not Smite 1, right? And so we don't want to just be like, we can't upgrade every single character. Like we can give you cool updates with like Hercules, where he now has like better fur for the line, and he has the OG Hercules face, but he's still Hercules, right, for the most part. Or like Ullr, you can like update his outfit, but like it's still Ullr. So like we're already not able to kind of like re-envision every single character as much as we want, just because of one, we don't want to upset players. They've come to know that character and love that character, and then we also just, again, resources, right? So like when we come to like things that we can bring over that can be different, you know, with the mastery system, is we want it to be the Smite 2 mastery system, not the Smite 1 mastery system, right? So that's not to say we can't maybe at some point add Diamond and like all those other ones back in, right, at some point. But we wanted to just start off with like, you know, people come in and they get on that mastery track. We want them to have things they're excited about that are new and fresh.
Yeah. And I think the opal one, we made a bunch of these to kind of compare and contrast, and there were a lot of different ones just like to see what we thought felt good. And we thought the opal just felt like new and different and appealing in its own way, right? Something new. We also, although there are some people in chat right now who seem to really like the diamond ones, a lot of the feedback that we had gotten previously was that the black and gold ones were by far the most appealing visually of the Smite 1 mastery skins, even though those were the ones you got at rank 5, I believe.
They offer a nice contrast range. I think that's why they're good. Diamonds, you kind of have to go on this like higher value, like brighter stuff, and then as a result, that's just harder to kind of work with things.
Yeah. So we definitely want to make sure we brought back that kind of black and gold as the onyx, as the the free one, and then the diamond ones we just didn't think there was as much desire for, and we thought that it seemed like people really liked the shadow ones from Smite 1, so we wanted to kind of update those. And then we were like, could we make a cooler version of the shadow ones instead of the diamond, which was what led to the radiant ones, which I think have largely been pretty well received. If there are, we're always open to feedback on this stuff.
Yeah, that color scheme has always been popular in Smite 1, the more like white, gold, angelic vibes.
Yeah.
So.
Can I answer one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Absolutely.
I'll be super fast.
This is kind of like the one bite of one more questions, where we just kind of keep answering questions until we stop.
Okay. So the Z Galaxius dude is asking, like, can we choose to replace moving Hecate on the home screen with a god of our choice? Okay, so like I want to answer this because I want you to like so like that's not like a 3D model, right? That's like a 2D they call it like MoGraph, like motion graphics. So basically you have like an image that's like a 2D like card art image that's in different layers and stuff, and then there's like material adjustments and like maybe even like a bones. The artist that doesn't like to be named, I mentioned earlier, he's so good at characters. The society's gonna start doing UI things, and like he's just become his final form at some point along the art journey, right? So anyways, he's doing a lot of material adjustments, and he did that kind of screen working with some other artists, and it's a lot of it's material driven. So like basically for us to do Hecate, we have to like keep in mind her kind of like flowy cloth and stuff, and so there's a whole bunch of work done that's unique to her that does not translate over to every one of these gods, and so to have all of them available would be just like so much work for so little kind of like payoff for the player, right? So we'll probably just pick like some iconic characters every once in a while once we do the updates. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's probably mostly going to be tied to like new characters for Smite 2. So every couple of months next year, we'll probably update that. And then at some point, it'll probably change to be a 3D model thing. But that's just another arc of work that we have to get to at some point. So
yeah, if it ever became easier, like I just want to get you guys everything that I can get you all. So like if it became easier, I'd say yes, but like it's not easy. It's a lot of work. So
cool. Well, I think that's about it. Unless you have one more, Alex.
I don't know. I always want to answer.
Yeah, I know.
Things.
We could stay here all day.
We could stay here all day. But we will be back on Monday at 1:00. We'll have Max here to talk a little bit about matchmaking, and then we will be here to take your questions and be here all next week. And yeah, we always appreciate you guys hanging out with us, asking questions. We enjoy talking to you and answering them. Yeah. And I believe we have Casual Friday coming up for folks that want to stick around and watch the stream.
Yeah, watch the stream. If you're at home and want to boot up your client, you can play with some of the casters and some of the devs. I believe Lermy's here. She's going to be hopping into some games as well.
So if you want to lose to Lermy, now's your chance.
Cool. Well, that's it for our Friday edition of Titan Talk this week. Chat, thanks so much for hanging out. We will see you next week on Monday with a show with Max to talk about matchmaking. But until then, have a good weekend, and we'll see you on the battleground. Peace!